Good evening, everybody. How's it going? I'm Paul. I'm with the Dicey Review, and we are here to play some fantastic solo board games this evening. Hey, how's it going, Ruby? I am super excited to be here for a number of reasons. Number one, it's Halloween time, which means that we get to play a spooky, scary solo game. This solo game was actually one of the three that I recommended over on our social media channels because it's lots and lots of fun. So I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to play. I know you may be asking yourself, you know, since we're playing a spooky game, where is Carl the vampire? Well, I'll tell you, Carl couldn't make it this evening because it's in the middle of the day. But we did have, I did ask him what he thought of this game, and he sent this message over.
Hello! I approve of this game. It is very, very spooky.
Alright, so even though Carl's not playing, we do know that this game is Carl approved. It is indeed a very spooky game. So thanks so much for hanging out. If you are hanging out, if you're watching this later, thanks so much for watching this later. We're going to get into it pretty soon here. I hope everybody is doing okay. I hope everybody is having a fantastic week. I know that I'm kind of in my midweek. You know, we're kind of over the hump. We're over the hump. It's the middle of the week. You know, I don't have anything too crazy stressful coming up. I get to play some awesome solo games tonight, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm doing really, really well. I hope that you are too. Welcome to everyone who may be watching. Once again, welcome, Ruby. I hope your night is fantastic. We're going to get started here in just a second, but before we do that, let's watch a quick trailer. And we're at the table. How's it going? Ruby, is this the revised version? So I will tell you, Ruby, this is the version on Tabletop Simulator, just because, once again, I am not in my new place yet, so physical games are tough for me to stream. I do have the physical version. It's right back here, and I have the older version, which, I don't know, I may buy the revised version just to have all four, enough for 4 decks in the box, because that sounds pretty nice, honestly. Although I do have enough to play with one and two players, because I have the old core set. So we're going to be playing the old core set, and we're going to be playing Scenario 1. And I will let you know, I've tried to beat this a few different times and have been unsuccessful. I've tried with Roland. I've tried with not Wendy. Daisy. I've tried with Daisy, and I've tried with old Skids O'Toole. So far, Skids is the one that I've been enjoying the most. So we're gonna give Skids another chance tonight, just because I like Skids O'Toole. He's green. He's got some decent stats here. He's got some good even stats. I like a lot of his abilities. He has a cool special ability that lets me take an extra action per turn. Which is pretty strong, so I'm pretty excited about that. But before we get to that, we are officially playing a brand new game on the channel, which means that we get to celebrate our Something New banner. That's right, it's pretty exciting. We're playing something new. And if you haven't played this game before, that's totally fine. I'm gonna do like a quick rundown of how to play just so that you know how to play. But we're going to kind of talk about how to play as we go, and this is a pretty straightforward scenario. It's not too difficult. This is just the 1A, the very beginning scenario from the Night of the Zealot, which is like the intro scenario that I'm trying to beat here. And there is some spooky, creepy stuff that's happening, which is awesome because we're definitely in the mood for that. But before we get to that, we need to read some spooky story because we have some things happening here. So let's go back to the first page and kind of set the scene here. The Ghoul's Hunger. Friday, September 18th, 1925, Arkham, Massachusetts. It's the end of a long and abnormally hot summer. The first hints of autumn beckons. But a heavy heat persists, relentless. A silent, unspoken anger grips the town. Tempers are short, and in the last week alone, there have been numerous reports of townspeople coming to heated, violent blows with one another over simple misunderstandings. And now, a call from James Hankerson. He claims to have found a dismembered body in his barn. Blaming the weather would be too easy. What? Huh? Somebody got dismembered because of the weather? Okay. There's something wrong with this town, and not a whole lot this old soothsayer can do to stop the slide. My auguries indicate a small group of investigators will soon take note of these strange happenings and set forth to make things right. I'll be watching their progress, but I won't be holding my breath. And when they say a small group, boy, do we mean it. There is a group of one. That is, they asked for a group and they got me, old Skids O'Toole, just by my lonesome. Oh, cool, you've played it, Ruby. Awesome. So you are like an old pro at this. You've probably beaten it, and I haven't. So we're in part one. We're in the gathering. You and your partners, once again, it's just me. You and your partners have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city of Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have mysteriously gone missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savaged and half-eaten. The police, sorry, that wasn't funny. The police and newspapers have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe there's something else going on. You're gathered together at the lead investigator's house to discuss these bizarre events. All right, wow. What a scene. We've got half-eaten corpses, which lets me know that these monsters are quitters. They can't stick it through and finish anything out. That's fine. Hopefully we can avoid them altogether, because what we're doing is we're trying to solve a quick mystery. Solve a mystery. We're trying to progress a story and see what's happening in this town. There's people disappearing, bodies are showing up, and we're trying to figure out what it is that's causing all of this mayhem. So what's going on is it's late at night, we're holed up in our study, and we're researching these bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into our research, we hear the sounds of strange chanting coming from the parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside the study until you can find another way out. So we are here in our study and we're trying to figure out what's going on, and all of a sudden our door disappears and we hear churning dirt. You've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. So what's happening in this game is we are going to try and investigate different locations to progress the story. We have an act right here, an act card, that to progress this card we need to get all the way through the act deck to get like a good outcome. But at the same time, there's going to be monsters and ghouls and things that are trying to progress an agenda deck. And there's a little number here on the bottom left that says 3, and that's a doom token, which will happen once every round. This card will get a doom token. If this card gets its threshold, it'll advance and something bad might happen. If we get enough clues, which is indicated by that number on the bottom right, we need 2 clues per investigator, so we need 2 clues in this game because I'm playing solo. We can progress the act deck and something cool might happen when we do that. So what's going to happen is we have locations that we are investigating. Right now, I'm stuck at the study because this is where we start off. To indicate that, my little player card is right here. So I'm at the study. And whenever you reveal a location, something might happen. You have some text under the location that might trigger. In this case, it just says the door to your study has vanished. And then you have a clue indicator on the right side that says 2 clues per player. So that means that I need to take 2 clue tokens and place them on the card. And these are the things that I'm trying to get to advance the story. So I'm trying to investigate at this location to get these clues so that I can turn them in to progress the story. Now, when you do that, there's kind of a check that you have to pass, and we'll talk about that in a second. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking 3 actions per turn, and I have a starting hand of cards that I haven't actually drawn yet that'll kind of indicate or dictate what I can do. So I need to draw 5. 5 is our starting hand. And see what I got. So on your turn, you'll be able to take 3 actions, and the actions that you can take are varied, but basically they will be play a card is a big portion of this game. You'll be able to play a card from your hand, and to do that you have to potentially pay resources. You can activate an ability from a card that you've already played. You can move if you have locations that you can move to. You can investigate, so you can try and get those clue those clue tokens. If you have enemies engaged with you, you have a couple of other actions that might trigger, or you can always just get 1 resource or draw a card. So those are essentially the actions that we can take on our turn, and I get to take 3 of those before we switch over to the doom, the bad phase that'll happen in the round, the mythos phase, where bad stuff might happen. So essentially, that's what I'm going to be doing on my turn. Now, there are checks that you have to pass to be able to do certain things in the game, like get a clue token or fight an enemy or things like that, which we'll talk about here in a second. But to start off the game, I am going to just run through the sequence of what will happen. So first thing, we have the mythos phase. We skip that during the first round. And then we have the investigation phase. So in the investigation phase, you will take, once again, 3 actions. So I have 3 actions that I can take on my turn to do cool stuff. Now, I do have a special ability that says that I can take an additional action if I spend 2 resources, but generally you can only take 3 actions per turn. So a good idea early on is to play out some cards to kind of get your skills up. So I have a few different cards here. There are different cards that you can play. Skill cards, which I have a few of in my hand. It looks like I have at least 1 or 2. Skill cards are just good for passing skill tests. So these are actually not too bad to have, but I may want to get rid of 1 of these to start off the game, because I would rather have assets. Assets are cards that you can play down in front of you, and they give you cool abilities. There's a limit to how many assets you can have out, depending on if they're like an item or something like that. But in general, assets are cards that you can play out, and they'll give you cool things that you can do. So I think what I'm going to do is, I don't have any enemies out right now, and this overpower card is pretty good for fighting enemies. So I think I'm going to go ahead and mulligan my starting hand and get 2 new cards. You can do this only with your starting hand. So you can pick any of the cards that you don't want to keep and then draw that many from the deck and then reshuffle. So I mulliganed 2 cards, and yeah, I'll just get rid of those 2. I mulliganed those 2 cards, which means I'm going to draw 2 more. If you draw a weakness card, which is another type of card you can have in this game, you get to draw a replacement for that. You don't get that in your starting hand. All right, this is a lot better. That is definitely better. So I'm going to take these cards, put them back on my deck, and then shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, so I went ahead and mulliganed. I got some better cards for sure, and now I get to take 3 actions. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some cards out. So when you play a card, I think I want to start with physical training, just because this one's a pretty good catch-all asset to have out. This is just a talent, which means it doesn't take up part of my slots, like my available card slots. I can have this out there, but it does have a cost. So if you look up in the top left of the card, it costs 2 resources. So resources are these little barrels right here, these crates. So I have to spend 2 resources to play this card. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that is going to be 1 of my 3 actions. And I just get to play that card out. So physical training is in my play area. And physical training does a cool thing. It allows me to boost my stats for passing skill checks. And skill checks we'll talk about here in a second, because I think on my turn I might try and investigate as well. But skill checks basically test one of your 4 stats to see if you pass a test. To do a certain particular thing on your turn. So I have played out 1 card, so that's 1 of my actions. I think I also want to Oh my goodness. This one is great. Burglary. So this one is an asset that says exhaust burglary, investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, gain 3 resources. Wowza, wowza, wowza. Okay, I think I want to do that. So this one costs 1 resource. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 of my other resources. And I'm going to play out burglary. This is another one of those talents. So basically there are items that might come up in the game that have a hand slot, or like a slot where you have to take up some of your space for cards. Basically, like you can have 2 weapons, they're one-handed weapons. You can have 1 ally that you play out, but these talents you can play out and have those out, and there's no limit to them that I'm aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and play this out, and then for my third action I'm going to actually use this card. So this one has a trigger. Once again, one of the actions you can take is to activate a arrow ability on a card. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to exhaust burglary and investigate at a location. So I'm investigating at a location, which means I have to pass a skill check. So in general, whenever you try and do a test or some type of fight or something like that in the game, you'll have to pass a test. So when you investigate, you have to pass a test using 1 of your 4 stats. And in this case, you have to use the book stat. I don't remember what that's called, but you have to use your book stat. So for me, my book stat is 3. And you're trying to pass a threshold value. So like enemies might have a defense value. This study has a shroud value, which is that 2 over on the left. So basically I'm trying to beat a 2. And I have a 3. The trick is I'm going to be pulling a random modifier from this bag, this chaos bag, and most of the modifiers are bad. So I might pull a token from this bag that says like -2, and in that case I would have my 4 reduced to 2, so I would fail the test. Actually, I would pass it in this case, because if you equal it, you pass it. But if I draw a -4, for instance, I would fail the test. So what you can do to help boost things is you can commit cards from your hand to help out with tests. So if you notice, like on the left, on the top left of cards, like on burglary, for instance, there are symbols that match your stats. So I've already played out burglary, but if I wanted to, I could have saved that and used this to boost up my stats for a skill check. So this one has 1 book symbol, so if I committed this to that test, I would be able to say instead of a 4, I now have or a 3, I now have a 4, basically. So you can use cards to kind of help pass tests if you want to. I don't really have any cards that are going to help with this test because I'm trying to pass with book stats. So I basically need to get lucky, if at all possible, because I'm trying to beat a 2, my stat is a 3, and most of these things are bad. So we'll go ahead and draw it out and see what happens. So I drew out a special little hooded symbol. So this one could have been really bad. There are special symbols that you can pull out of the bag as well. And the campaign card will tell you what that symbol does. This one says -1, if I fail, take 1 horror. So the good news is I had a 3, it got reduced by 1 down to a 2, which equals the shroud value at the location, which means that I pass. So I actually passed this test. Now, since this card succeeded, I get to, instead of get a clue, I get 3 resources, which is awesome. Normally, whenever you investigate at a location, you just gain a clue. But since I have my special ability, I gained 3 resources, which is pretty good. Now, I want to start moving the story forward if at all possible, but having 3 resources from an action is pretty great. So I've taken all 3 actions. That means that my turn is done, which means that we're going to move on to the enemy phase. So if there were any enemies out, they would attack if they were engaged with me. We don't have any enemies, which means that we're going to move on to the upkeep phase. So during the upkeep phase, any exhausted cards will get unexhausted, including enemies, which may be a thing. And then I'm going to get 1 resource and draw 1 card. So I get 1 more resource and I get to draw 1 card. And then we're going to have to deal with a mythos phase, which is bad news bears. Oof. And I also drew one of my weaknesses. So each investigator has weaknesses in the game. For instance, Skids O'Toole here, the riverboat gambler, the ex-con, has a card that says hospital debts. when I draw this card, instead of something good happening, I have to put this into my threat area, which is just kind of up here. This is threat, like enemies might go here, bad cards might go here. And this one says that as an action, I can move one resource, or I can just move one resource as an instant action, so it wouldn't take an action on my turn. That little squiggly lightning symbol means instant. I can move one resource from my resource pool to hospital debts, but I can only do that twice per round. And if the game is over and I have less than 6 resources on this card, I get 2 fewer experience for this scenario, which is a bad deal, because experience is cool, it lets you upgrade your stuff. So this is a bad card that, honestly, drawing it early isn't that bad because it gives me time to hopefully deal with it, and I have lots of resources, so I could potentially start working on that pretty soon. But we're not done yet. That was just the upkeep phase. Now we have to go through to the mythos phase. So I'm going to go ahead and start that off with placing a doom on the agenda. So there's doom tokens in the game, but in this TTS mod, it's just a little tracker. So the doom threshold for this one is 3. So we're 1 out of 3 spaces there. And then I have to draw an encounter card and resolve it. And these are just bad cards. Yep, first things first, I drew a ghoul minion. This guy is the worst, the worst. If you look at him, he is a humanoid monster ghoul. He has some stats up top. So the middle stat, 2, is his health. The stat over on the left is his strength, which is what I would have to exceed to damage him. And then the stat over on the right with the little shoe with the wing is his evade value. So instead of fighting enemies, you can also evade them. And I actually have a card that gives me a cool ability after I evade an enemy. So it may be beneficial for me to try and evade an enemy instead of fight them for a couple of reasons. Number one, the skill that you use to evade is the shoe with the wings. So my evade value is better than my fight value, which is the fist. And then also, I can potentially play this card out and use it to do cool stuff when I evade an enemy. So anyway, that's bad. That's the mythos phase. You put doom on there, advance the agenda if that threshold is met, and then we draw a card and we have to resolve it. So now I'm dealing with an enemy. And it's my turn. As a quick aside, if you, when you have an enemy engaged with you, which just happened to me because this enemy spawned at my location, if you try and do anything other than fight, evade, or I believe, what's the other thing? Parlay or resign, which are actions that may come up depending on the story, I have to take an attack of opportunity, which just simply means that this monster does its damage to me. So if you look down to the left and right of the enemy symbol, it does 1 heart damage and 1 sanity damage, which is bad because I don't have a ton of sanity. I have 8 health and 6 sanity. So essentially what I need to do before I do anything on my turn is I need to deal with this enemy. I would love to try and play out this card that gives me a bonus when I evade, but honestly, if I do that, I'm going to take an attack of opportunity, and I don't know that it's worth it. Although I could... Oh man, okay. I'm going to try it, just see what happens. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do something that is not fight, resign, or parlay, or evade, or whatever. I'm going to spend 2 resources, and I'm going to play out pickpocketing, which says, after you evade an enemy, exhaust pickpocketing, and you get to draw a card. So this is like a static ability that happens if I play this card. So since I did that, I have to take 1 health and 1 sanity damage, which is not great, but I have, I think, some ways to potentially deal with this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to evade this enemy. So this enemy has an evade value of 2. I have an evade stat of 4, so I'm hoping this will work out. And since I'm trying to evade it, I don't have to take an attack of opportunity. So I need to pass a 2 with a 4. Let's see what happens. I drew the same thing. Weird. Is there a way to like shuffle the bag? Okay, so I take a -1, which means that I Shuffle, maybe? Okay, so I take a -1, but that means that I pass. So when you evade an enemy, they become exhausted, which means they don't attack during the monster phase, which is great. And since I successfully evaded an enemy, my pickpocketing asset triggers. So I get to exhaust this and draw a card, which is fantastic. Let's see what I get. Hopefully it's nothing bad. All right, that's great. I drew my Derringer, which gives me the ability to do some extra damage and also increase my stats, which is fantastic. Okay, so I've taken 2 actions. I think as my 3rd action, I want to go ahead and either play out, let's see here. I want to play out Derringer, and I think I want to move over a resource to my hospital debts to see if I can get rid of that. I need to start investigating and moving this story forward, but I think I'm going to get out some items first to see if I can, you know, kind of help prepare me for what's to come, because there's some nasty, gnarly stuff that comes in this scenario, just let me tell you. So I think as my last action, I'm going to spend 3 resources to go ahead and play out my Derringer. So old ex-con gambler Schizo Tool is going to play out his Derringer that he uses to defend himself against angry poker players. And that's my 3rd action. I think as a instant, I'm going to move 1 resource over to hospital debts to see if I can get 6 on that before the end of the game. And then that's that. So now we're on to the enemy phase. Now, during the enemy phase, if this enemy were in unexhausted, it would attack me. But when you evade enemies, they become exhausted. So no worries there. That enemy is exhausted, which means we will move straight on to the upkeep phase. And in the upkeep phase, that's where everything resets. So this resets. This enemy becomes engaged with me again, unfortunately. And I get 1 resource and draw a card, which is great. I need cards. I'm low on cards. I only have 3. Oh, Leo De Luca, he's so good. Okay, so we're now starting to get into the types of cards that take up slots. So if you'll notice on the bottom right of this 41 Derringer, it has a hand symbol, meaning that it takes up 1 of my 2 hand slots. Leo De Luca is an ally, which is that little person in a hat symbol. Allies are fantastic. They can soak up damage for you. So if you look down at the bottom, there's hearts and sanity. You can assign hearts and sanity to your allies if you want to, and they also might give you an ability. Like this one with Leo gives me a crazy good ability, which gives me an additional action each turn. So I think I really want to try and focus on getting him out. And that's great because I have a card that'll let me get 3 resources, which is almost enough. I just need to get a couple more on my turn. So I've done my upkeep. I am now going to go on to the Doom Mythos phase, unfortunately. So Mythos phase, we have 1 more Doom on the tracker, which is bad. We're 1 away from advancing the agenda, which is not good at all. And unfortunately, I have to draw an encounter card. So let's see what happens. Yikes, no. That is bad. Okay. I've seen some rotting remains, and immediately I need to test my willpower, which I think is the head symbol. So I need to test this and see what happens. My willpower stat is not so good. It's a 2. Let's see if I have any cards. So I could use first aid. That wouldn't be too terrible. And I could spend 1 resource to increase that stat even more. I think I'm going to have to do both, which is unfortunate because these cards are really good. But I'm going to go ahead and discard. I'm going to commit first aid to this test, which will give me 1 willpower symbol up in the top left. So now instead of a 2, I'm a 3. And then I'm going to activate physical training to spend 1 resource and get another willpower for a skill test. So now I'm working with a 4 against a 3, which is still, I could still fail pretty bad. So let's see what happens. Okay, something is going on with this chaos bag. There's like, hold on. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, +1. I was about to say, is that the same symbol? So this is great. There's, I think, like one +1 in the whole bag, and I drew it, which means that I don't fail the test and I take no horror, which is great. So I've passed that test, and I get to move into my investigator phase. The downside is I wasted a card, I got rid of a card, and I spent one of my resources, but I only have 6 horror in the whole game, and I've already taken 1, so I really want to avoid getting... I mean, I could have taken 3 horror on that if I hadn't have committed something, so I'm glad I did it. All right, bad news is I've still got a guy engaged with me. I've still got an enemy engaged with me, so I'm gonna need to try and deal with him first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and evade him first and foremost, which 4 versus 2, I feel pretty good about that, so I'm gonna try and evade him and see if I can activate my pickpocketing. Since I'm evading my engaged enemy, I don't take an attack of opportunity, which is great. I drew the +1 again, so I think you have to shuffle each time. Shuffle, shuffle. Okay, now let's draw. 0, there we go. Okay, so I definitely evaded that guy. And let me go ahead and shuffle this up again so that next time we'll draw a different token. So I evaded this guy, which is great. He becomes exhausted, which means I can do stuff freely. Also, pickpocketing gets triggered, which means I get to draw 1 more card. So let's see what I get. I'm really going to need to start progressing stuff pretty soon. Ooh, that's not bad at all. I'm going to save that card for later. That one's really good. And I think what I'm going to do for action 2 and 3, I'm just going to play this and get some resources. So emergency cash gives me 3 resources, which is great. So I've gained 3 resources. Now I'm going to go ahead and, as my last action, I think I'm going to go ahead and try and investigate. So I need to start progressing things, if at all possible. Either that or I could fight this guy. I could see if I could just get rid of this guy so he could stop bugging me. Although he's not going to do anything this game. He's not going to, or this round rather, he's not going to fight me. I could see if I could investigate and get the 3 more resources I would need to play Leo DeLuca on my next turn. Oh my goodness, choices, choices. Leo would really help me out and make a big difference in this game. So I think I'm going to try 1 more time to get some resources before I start researching on my next turn and maybe fighting this enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm probably way misplaying this game, so I apologize. If you're looking to me for strategy, I've never won this scenario. So even if you lose, the story progresses, but I've never like beaten everything in this scenario. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and exhaust burglary and try and investigate my location. If I do so successfully, I will gain 3 resources. So my book value is 3. I'm trying to beat a 2. I could buff that with this guy. Man, that's a really good card, but succeeding at this investigation would give me enough to play Leo on my next turn, which I think is pretty critical. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to commit this. So now I'm 4-2. Let's see what I get. -1. I would have been okay, but anyway, that's okay. I succeeded, which means that I get 3 resources and my turn is done, unfortunately. But that's okay, because I now gained enough resources to play Leo rather. Now, there is a card that I could draw that would get rid of all of my resources in my starting deck, and boy, would that be a kick in the gut. I hope that doesn't happen. I've spoken that into existence, and now I feel like it is going to happen, but we'll see. We'll just see what happens. That's my turn, and now we are in the enemy phase. The enemy is not ready, so nothing happens there. And now we will move on to the upkeep phase. So I get 1 resource, I draw 1 card, and it is the Overpower card. All right. That's pretty good. So next turn, I could potentially fight this wonderful fellow here and potentially beat him. It was a colossal and nameless blasphemy with glaring red eyes, and it held in its bony claws a thing that had been a man, gnawing at the head as a child nibbles at a stick of candy. Ugh. I mean, hey, it's creepy. It's Halloween. I get it, but geez. That guy is aggro as crap. All right. Let's see here. So we've done that. Now we are on to the Doom phase, which is bad because we actually, the Mythos phase rather, we increased the Doom and we have hit our Doom threshold. So Agenda 1A, the Doom will progress. So something happens. First thing, we flip this over. The house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. The lead investigator must decide. Either each investigator discards one card at random from his hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. Oh my goodness. So if I discard one at random, there's a 50-50 chance that I lose Leo, which is like the whole thing I've been building up to playing, so I really can't do that, which means I'm going to take 2 horror, which is bad news bears, because I only have 6 horror. And I'm now up to 3. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hopefully this improves. This game is brutal. It's very brutal. This thing gets revealed. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You preferably don't want to be here when they do. That's correct. I don't want to be here when whatever that is gnaws its way up through the floor like a weird, creepy gremlin man. Oh, sorry, this should have reset. This enemy is engaged and ready to go, and all of my cards should reset as well. But it's okay, because I've got stuff to deal with things in the next round. Because the first thing I'm going to try and do, it is now my turn. The first thing I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and just straight up murderize this ghoul. I am going to be activating my, oh sorry, this should have 3 ammo on it. When cards get played, some of them have uses on them. So like this card, for instance, says 3 ammo. So I put 1 resource on this card as an ammo, and this card only has a certain number of uses before it gets exhausted. So as an action, I can spend 1 ammo and fight. I get +2 for this attack. If I succeed by 2 or more, this attack deals +1 damage. So basically I need to try and succeed by 2 or more. My fight value is 3. This card bumps it up to a 5. And I could spend 1 resource to bump it up even more to a 6. Oh, no. I have this card that I can do, which gives me +2. Okay, so this gives me +2, so I'm at a 5. Then this gives me +2 more, and if this skill test is successful, I draw a card. So I'm now at a 7. And I need to beat a 2. 2 is the middle number. So here's the thing. There is a -4 in that bag. There's also an automatic fail in that bag. Everything else, I think I would pass. So I feel like I have pretty good chances of passing this, but it is not guaranteed. Let me shuffle. I don't think I'm going to try and do anything. I don't think I'm going to try and increase it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and hope that +5 is enough to defeat this bad boy. -2. All right, that's totally fine, which means that things trigger. So I succeeded by 2 or more, which means that this attack does +1 damage, and the skill test was successful that I committed this card to, which means that I get to draw a card. So that was really, really good because a couple things happened. First off, since this was successful, I get to draw a card. Let me hope it's not a weakness. Oh my goodness, thank the Lord. And since I succeeded by 2 or more, I do +1 damage. So your base attack, if you ever succeed against an enemy, is you do 1 damage to that enemy. So doing +1 damage will increase that to 2, which is enough to kill this monster and get it out of my threat area, which is fantastic. Now, some monsters, when you kill them, will give you experience points. This guy doesn't have any experience points, but I did a thing to get rid of him, which was great. And that was just 1 action. Let's see here. Also, for my second action, I am for sure going to spend 6 resources to play out Leo De Luca, which is fantastic because he does a couple things for me. Number 1, he gives me some health. I can put some damage and sanity on him if I need to. And he gives me an additional action during my turn, which triggers immediately, which means that I actually get 2 more actions, which is wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try and investigate twice. So I'm going to investigate once with this card, see if I can get some more resources, because man, if I can keep these resources flowing, holy cow, this is great. So I investigate once. I need to pass a 2 with a 3. Let's see if this happens. So shuffle first, draw a thing. Oh, that is an auto fail. So I do not get resources, but that's okay. I'll put this one back. I'll shuffle again. And I'm just going to try and investigate to get a clue this time. So once again, I need to get a 1 or I need to get a 2 or greater. So sorry, this one is my status 3. This one is -1, so I pass. So if you just investigated a location and you're not doing a special action like this card, you just get one of the clue tokens. So I now have 1 clue token, which is great, because I need 2 clue tokens to advance the story deck. So I'm going to go ahead and I have to end my turn now, but this is good because I got rid of the enemy, I played Leo out, and I was able to get 1 clue from my location, which is fantastic, because hopefully I'll be able to kind of move quickly now. But before we do that, we have to go through the enemy phase. There's no enemies, which means I need to go ahead and draw a card, reset everything, and get 1 resource. All right. After you defeat an enemy, discover a clue at your location. That would have been fantastic. That's okay. That's okay, because I can save this one for a few different things. It lets me, it has +2 stat boost, which is great, and there are some locations in this first scenario that are really tough to investigate, so I may be able to kind of use this card to cheat past a tough shroud value at one of my other locations, so that's cool. All right, so this gets reset. I get 1 more resource. I need to start pouring some of these resources over to the hospital debts as well, but what are you gonna do? All right, so the doom value resets because we're in a new agenda, so we'll get 1 more doom, which is bad. But once again, you don't expect good things from a encounter where things are clawing and gnawing at the floor. And I have to deal with 1 more encounter card. Ooh, grasping hands. All right, cool deal. Cool. So I have to take a test. I have to pass a test. 3 or more with my agility, which is actually really good. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. Okay. I don't think I'm going to boost it. Well, I can't boost it, so that's a moot point. But I would feel okay not boosting my test here. I think I'm okay. Damage, I have more damage than sanity. I think I'm okay on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle. Shuffle and draw 1. Oh, boy. I failed by 2. I failed by 2, which means that I take 2 damage, which is rough indeed. I will take that damage to the face because I can take up to 8, and I don't want Leo to die right now or ever. No thanks. I don't want Leo to die because he gives me an extra action per turn, which is incredible. So, oh man, well, that was bad, but it's okay. I'm now taking 4 actions. I've got all kinds of stuff in my arsenal. I've got some things happening. First things first, I'm going to try and get some resources because I need resources to pay off these hospital debts. So I'm going to use this card to just straight up investigate. Hopefully I will not fail this test, but we'll see. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, I don't think that shuffled because that's the same one I just drew. Shuffle. Let me try again. Okay, so I'm trying to beat a 2 with a 3. Let's see what I get. Oh, I got a -3, so I fail, which means I don't get resources. But now I will try and investigate again as my second action just to see if I can get a clue. So I'm going to, I need a 2 with a 3. Oh man, that brings me down to a 1, which means I fail that test as well. Jeez. Skids, I wish you had spent some time not gambling and a little bit more time buffing up your reading and investigation skills. Okay, action 3. I'm going to investigate again. Do I need to buff it up? Do I need to buff it up with evidence? I really hate to waste that card so early, so I'm going to try 1 more time. If I can't get it this time, We'll see. I'm going to try one more investigation. Shuffle. A -1, please. -1 or higher. A skull. A skull looks really bad, but is actually okay. -X, where X is the number of ghoul enemies at my location, which is currently 0, which means I pass. Woohoo! All right, so I now have enough clues to advance the agenda if I want to. I still have one action that I could take as well. And what should I do? I think, let's see here. I'm gonna, before I think I might draw a card. Actually, I could just go ahead and advance. Now, before I do that, before I advance, I am going to, because advancing doesn't take an action, so I'm gonna do these 2 free actions to spend those resources and put them on hospital debts, which puts me halfway to what I need to get before the end of the game. And as my 4th and final action, I'm going to draw 1 card, and then I will advance the deck. I will advance the agenda deck at the end of my turn, because it doesn't take an action to do that. So I'm going to spend these 2 clues to advance the agenda, and let's see what happens. Something cool, I'm hoping. It's probably going to be something bad. Let's be honest, it's probably going to be something bad. Okay, so when you advance the agenda, you move this card, you flip it, see what it says, and then you have some new stuff that happens. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding that odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see the door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob, and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below you. Woo-hoo. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet in the soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. Must be a lovely smelling hall. So a few things are going to happen. First, we're going to put into play the set-aside hallway, cellar, attic, and parlor, discard each enemy in the study, and place each investigator in the hallway, remove the study from the game. So we've moved from one location to the other, and this doesn't actually take an action. This just kind of happens. So we're now in the hallway, and these locations also get put out into the game. We've got the parlor, we've got the attic, so we'll put the attic up here, because come on, let's be thematic. It's vertically up, and then we've got the cellar, which is vertically down. All right, so these locations are currently locked because nobody's at them. So this is the locked side showing no stats. And you'll notice that the parlor is blocked. The entrance is blocked by a darkly glowing, unfathomable barrier. You cannot fathom this barrier. You also cannot move into the parlor, because you'll notice on the next card, I need 3 clues to advance this agenda, and we have some information about the barrier blocking the parlor. A glowing barrier blocks the path to the parlor. As you move towards it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. So it's pretty hot. It's hot enough to burn dirt. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or the attic that could help. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway as a group can spend the number of clues to advance. So basically, I need to go find clues in the cellar or the attic. But before that, the hallway is revealed. A moment of panic and disorientation strikes as you land upon the floor of the hallway. The world spins as if turned on its head. This gets flipped over and revealed. So the walls of your house are splattered with mud, and your hardwood floor is gone and replaced with a dirt path. So there's a couple of things that happen with these locations. If you look at the bottom, there's symbols that are connected locations. So you see the blue triangle, the red plus, and the green, I think, diamond. I'm color confused. That means that from the hallway, you can go to those 3 locations. So the hallway is connected because if you look at the top left, the attic is the blue triangle, the bottom is the cellar with the plus symbol, and then the parlor is the green diamond. So that means that from the hallway, you can go to any 3 of these locations. And once you go to a location, it unlocks and reveals, and some things might happen. So we'll have to do that on the next round because all of my actions have been taken, which means that we're going to move straight on into the enemy phase. There are no enemies, so we'll move on into the upkeep phase where everything will reset I get 1 resource and 1 card. And then we have to deal with the Mythos phase. Let's see what I got. Ooh, I got a knife. This will help me fight against some bad peeps, some ghouls and boys. Let's see here. +2 deals +1. Not too bad. Oh, that's if I discard it. If I use it straight up, it just gives me +1 for an attack. So this honestly might be one that I just save to boost a skill check. That wouldn't be too bad. And I also have this card that'll help after I defeat an enemy, I can discover a clue. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to, first off, well, I have to deal with the Mythos phase. So let's do that first. Mythos phase, we get 1 more Doom, 2 out of 7. So we're getting there, which is bad. And then I have to deal with an encounter. See what happens. Ugh. Crypt Chill. Holy cow. Oh no. Okay, I have to pass a 4 willpower test, and if I fail, I have to discard an asset that I control. If I can't, I take 2 damage. This is really bad. Willpower is my weakness, so obviously, I've got lots of vices. I have no willpower, so I'm trying to beat a 4 with a 2. So that's bad. So what I'm going to need to do first is I'm going to need to play Guts, which will give me +2. So now I'm at least even. And then I think I also want to activate this card that gives me another +1. So now I'm +1, which isn't great, but it's better than -2 for sure. There's nothing else that I can do. So like if I had more willpower symbols in my hand, I could commit even more cards to a skill test. And if other people were playing with me, you can also commit 1 card on your other players' skill checks as well. But as it is, I can only commit the 1 card because I only have the 1 card that has those symbols. That being said, I'm up to a 5, which is okay. We'll see what happens. +1 is not enough to make you feel comfortable in this game. If I pass, good things happen. If I fail, bad things happen. Whoa! Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that I passed that. That is so great because I don't have to lose an asset. So get out of here. Be gone, devil. And then, since I was successful, I get to draw a card, which is really good. Okay, hopefully I don't draw a bad card. I didn't. I drew a Switchblade. Man, look at that. This is fantastic. Oh, and this is a fast card, which means that this card doesn't actually take an action to use. Interesting, okay. That's not bad at all. That's a much better knife than this knife, just saying. All right, so now I'm in the investigator phase. Okay, cool. So let's see what I want to do. I've got 4 actions thanks to Leo. I should probably move first off. And I think what I want to do is I want to move to let's move to the cellar. The stairs leading down to the cellar are slick and they glisten with a thin layer of ice. Nothing could go wrong here. Okay, after you enter the cellar, take 1 damage. Yikes. Okay, I'll take a damage. I am halfway to dead. Boy, that's a harrowing thought. Okay. This location is rough because it has a shroud value of 4, meaning that to investigate successfully, I need to pass a 4 check. That is really bad. If I could draw a flashlight, that would help in a huge way. I've got a card in my deck called a flashlight that will make it easier to investigate, basically. So that's my first action. Now I have 3 actions. What do I want to do? Well, holy cow. I mean, I'm at a -1 right off the bat. I mean, I guess I'll draw a card and see if I can get a flashlight. Okay, so second action, I draw a card. I've got a beat cop. Okay, that's not bad. Third action, what do I want to do? Actually, I hate to leave because I would just take a damage if I do leave and come back later. And I do need 1 clue. I need a clue. I mean, but literally I would have to draw a +1 to even succeed at this place unless I spent both of these things. So this is the location that I was talking about where the shroud value is really high, where this card might be really nice, because if I defeat an enemy, I can just play this to discover a clue without having to pass a test. But what I could do is just try and straight up investigate and use this card, which would give me a 5 to a 4. And if I get 1 clue from this location, I have enough to advance the story. I just need 3, because I know that there's going to be... Sorry, there's 2 clues at this location. I've played this scenario a couple times, so I know that there's going to be 2 clues at that other location. All right, third action. It's third action, right? I've done 2. Drawn a card, done a thing. So I could draw 1 more card and see if I get something better so that I don't have to waste this card. Let's do that. Let's draw 1 more card. Opportunist. Commit to a skill test you're performing. If you succeed by 3 or more, return this to my hand. That's not bad, because this card actually has a wild symbol, which means it can be anything. But there's no way I'm going to succeed by 3 or more for this test, so I don't want to commit that. I think I'm going to go ahead and commit evidence, which is such a bummer, because that could be such a good card for me. That'll give me a 5, and I'm trying to succeed against a 4. So let's see what happens. If I can get 1 clue, I feel good enough to where I can leave this location. +1. Wow, holy cow. Okay, I did it. That is enough, which means that on my next turn, I will probably try and leave this location if at all possible. Now, we have a monster phase, which is bad, but there's no monsters, so it's okay. And then we have the upkeep phase where everything gets reset. And let's see here, I get 1 card. Oh, the Dynamite Blast. That one's not bad at all. That one's pretty good. Now, I'm actually getting close to having 8 cards, which is the hand limit in this game. If I had more than 8, I would have to discard down, but I'm okay for now. And then we have to move on to the Mythos phase. So 3 Doom on the Doom counter. See what kind of encounter comes out. Yikes. Obscuring Fog. Attached to your location, limit once per location. Oh my gosh, the attached location gets +2 Shroud. After attached location is successfully investigated, discard Obscuring Fog, which this is just not going to happen, okay? This location now has a Shroud value of 6, which is just not going to happen. So it's really good that I was able to get a clue from this place before all that happened. But the good news is nothing like super bad happened as part of this Mythos phase, which means now I can just move on and hopefully investigate what I need to from this location up here. So on my turn, I'm going to go 1, 2. When I go 2, I will reveal this location. Yoicks, I forgot what happened. Oh, of course, I take 1 horror. So this one's bad in a different way. After you enter the attic, take 1 horror. So I am low on horror. I'm only 3 away from dying. So I think I'm actually going to put 1 horror on Leo, which just is really bad because he can only take 2. And if he dies, I lose an action per turn, which is just huge. Okay. Okay, well, that's okay, because the Shroud value at this place is 1, which means that I can hopefully get both the other clues that I need from this location, and then I can advance the story. That would be fantastic. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've gone 2. Actions 3 and 4 are both going to be to investigate. Now, I could investigate once to get some resources. That seems like a smart move. Because this one would be an easy one to succeed at, and if I succeed, I would get 3 resources. That doesn't seem bad at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger this card first. So I'll go ahead and activate. I'll go ahead and activate this card to hopefully investigate and get some resources. So I need to beat I've got a 3. I'm trying to beat a 1. Let's see here. Let's shuffle, and then shuffle, and then reveal. All right, -1. I succeeded. Which means I get 3 resources, which is great. 1, 2, 3. And I think what I'm going to do is before I take my normal investigate action, I'm just going to go ahead and do boop, boop, pop those over here. Now I'm only 1 away from paying off my hospital debts. Which there's something going on with these hospital debts. There's a backstory going on here. We can read it on the back side of the card after this scenario is done. see what's going on with old Skids. But he's got some hospital debts. He's got some skeletons in the closet. And I think as my fourth action, I'm just going to go ahead and try and straight up investigate and see if I can succeed. Which, let's see, do I have anything that could help? Oh yeah. I could potentially, if I commit this, if I succeed by 3 or more, I don't know. That one seems really good, especially, I don't think I need to commit stuff to pass this test as much as I might need that later. That wild symbol is really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can just beat a 3 versus 1 again. Oh no, what does that mean? -2. If there's a ghoul, take 1 damage. There is no ghoul, and I just passed. Okay, so I've got 1 clue, which is great. So on the start of my next turn, I will go ahead and try and investigate again, and then move to the hallway to open up that location that I need to progress the story one more time. I think we're doing okay. We're doing okay because what happens whenever you progress the last act is some rough stuff happens. So hopefully we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can avoid all that. All right, so enemy phase. There's no enemies. We will now do upkeep phase. This resets. We get 1 card. Hopefully it's not my weakness. All right, guts. I can use all the skill stuff I can take. And then I get 1 resource, which is great. So I have enough to finish off my hospital debts next round, and I have enough to maybe like play out one of my cards. Man, if I could save up enough to do the dynamite blast, that would be fantastic. Ooh, man, that would be really good. Well, okay, that might be really good. Okay, so I've done that. Now I have to go to the Mythos phase. This gets increased, which is bad. Let's see what happens. Oh, good grief. You can't play assets or events at the end of the round. Discard this. Okay. That's not the end of the world because, so basically I can't play any of my cards unless it's a skill card to pass a skill test, which is okay. It's not great, but that's okay. It could have been worse. Hey Ruby, you're still here watching. Good grief, Ruby. You are like a true pal. How's it going? How you doing? Hopefully things are going well. I am super excited because in the next month I'm gonna get to hopefully go to BGGCon, which I'm really excited about. I haven't done anything gaming related in a whole long time, as you can see from all of the solo streams I've been doing on the channel. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to do that soon. Hopefully things are going well for you out in West Texas. Ruby is one of the regulars that watches us on the Portal stream whenever we were streaming for Portal, watches Captain Link and all the Portal pals over there. All right, so it is now my turn, which means that I am going to... All right, I need to do some things. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try and investigate. Actually, you know what I should do? I should try and investigate using this card first to see if I can get some freebie resources, because man, this card's great. Investigate. If you succeed, gain 3 resources instead of a clue. All right, so shuffle, and let's see what I get. Hopefully not where, ooh, that's an automatic fail. Dang it. Dang it. Well, I wasted that card, which, you know, all good, all good. Okay, so then I will just try and straight up investigate for my second action. 3 trying to beat a 1, I got a 0. That is fantastic. I got the clue that I needed, which means that I have 2 more actions that I could take. One of them needs to be move, so I'm going to move 1. And then I think as my last action on my turn, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to feed one of these resources, so now I have everything I need. And I might just go ahead and get another resource, because I'm going to try and hopefully get enough resources to do the dynamite blast. The dynamite blast could be really good against the big boss person that's going to come out. So I'm going to do one more resource and end my turn. And because of that, at the end of my turn, I can spend the clues that I have to advance the story, because I have 3, which is exactly enough. So I'm going to go ahead and spend my 3 clues. I'm going to turn those bad boys in and advance this story. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway may as a group oh, when the round ends. Okay, sorry, I have to actually finish off the round before I do that. I've got 7. I'm gonna have to start discarding stuff if I don't play my cards. So that's okay. I can use all these cards to commit skill tests. There's no enemies. I draw 1 card, and what did I draw? Hard Knocks. Spend 1 resource. Oh man, this is a great card. This is like the physical training card for the Guardian class, but better for me because it helps me evade things. Wow. Okay, might have to play that one later, depending on what happens. This lady gets reset, and ooh, I guess I could. Okay, sorry. It's at the end of the round. So this one goes away at the end of the round. Discard Dissonant Voices. This is out of here. And now at the end of the round, I'm advancing the Act deck. So this goes away, and we see what happens. All right, using the barrel from the attic. So I've gone into the attic. I've grabbed the barrel that was filled with like animal stuff. The bloody carcass of a half-malformed beast swings from a meat hook chained to the ceiling. Blood drains slowly from the carcass, dripping into the small barrel. Got yourself a blood barrel up there. All right. A woman with a torch. No, sorry. Using that barrel filled with blood, we carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice, and then it hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking passage into the parlor has vanished. Reveal the parlor. Put the set-aside Lita Chandler into play in the parlor and spawn the set-aside Ghoul Priest in the hallway. Blah. Okay, so the parlor gets revealed, which is pretty cool, because the parlor is a location that gives us some cool abilities where we can progress the story. Oh man, all right, so we now have options. A woman with a torch. What have you done? We're in trouble already. A woman with a torch stands in the parlor, a glimmer of hatred in her eyes. What have you done to my barrier? Oh, the barrier was set up by Lita, whatever her name is. What have you done to my barrier? She screams, furious. Before you can answer, a ghastly wail sounds behind you, and a creature wearing robes and a deer skull mask tears through the wall, advancing towards you. The Ghoul Priest. If the Ghoul Priest is defeated, we can advance. Okay, so we are in the hallway. We had to be in the hallway to reveal this card, which means the Ghoul Priest is also in the hallway, engaged with us, which is real bad. The Ghoul Priest is engaged with us because we are in the hallway. Rita, who is up here, is in the study, parlor, rather. She has set up a barrier to protect herself, and we have destroyed it, so she is very ticked at us. When an investigator at a location successfully attacks a monster enemy, that investigator deals +1 damage. Let's see here. While you control Lita, not Rita, you get +1 fight. How do you get Lita? Huh. How do you take control of Lita? Interesting. Okay. I know it says that somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. Okay. No worries. All right. So this is where I'm at. I've got a bad enemy engaged with me. It's at the end of the round, so it's just bad. We're now in the Mythos phase, and we have to increase the Doom by 1, which is really bad, because now it's at 6, and we have to deal with an encounter. Yikes! Okay, we have an Icy Ghoul. Good grief. Okay, so this is why, if I can trigger... Man, this is bad, though. This is really bad. Because basically I would need... Golly, I need to evade both of these guys, get resources, and then move the heck away so that I can hopefully damage them with this dynamite blast, man. A lot of stuff needs to happen. Okay. Yeah, she's very mad at me. She's very mad at me because I took down her barrier, and I'm mad at myself because now I'm in a room filled with a couple of ghouls. Good grief. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one to win. I don't know that I can do it. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. All right, so I need to evade both of these guys, if at all possible, so that I can have maybe move away. But then if I do that, this guy has the hunter tag, which means he will follow me. This guy, oh, he spawns in the cellar. Oh my goodness. My bacon, the bacon was saved. You have no idea how much that is. Okay, that is fantastic. Okay, so I'm at the cellar, which means this guy spawns at the cellar, which means that he's not up in my business, which means I only have to deal with the ghoul priest, which makes this way more doable, possibly. Okay, first things first. I've got 4 actions. I need to try and evade the ghoul priest. If this works out, this could be very, very good for me. So first action, what I'm going to do is I am going to try and evade the ghoul priest, which means I won't take an attack of opportunity, and I am going to absolutely do everything I can to buff this test because this guy is brutal. All right, so I've got 1 winged shoe here. I've got 1 winged shoe here. So I'm going to commit both of these, which is going to put me up to a 4, 5, 6. And he's got an evade value of 4. So I'm only a +2, which is honestly, it's not like this is a sure thing. But if I can evade this guy and then investigate, this all has to be successful for this to work out, but it could be very good indeed. All right. So let's see here. First thing I'm going to do, I am going to try and evade him. All right, so 6 to 4. Let's see if I can make this happen. See if I can make this happen. All right, shuffle. Come on. Lucky bag. Let's see here. Please don't be a plus. Oh, oh my gosh. I can't believe it. All right, I've evaded the ghoul priest, which is, oh, that's so great. Okay, he is such a tough cookie. All right, so he's evaded, which means now, after you evade an enemy, exhaust pickpocket, exhaust. Okay, exhaust. I thought that for a second I thought I was supposed to discard that. Okay, so these go away. I don't know that I have to do this. So here's what I'm thinking. Drawing a card would be good normally, but there is a card in this deck that will get rid of all of my resources, and I really have to have my resources for this to work out. I don't think I have to trigger this card, and I'm not going to, because I don't want to draw a card that gets rid of all my resources. Because now what I want to do is I want to successfully investigate getting 3 resources. Now, I'm not actually trying to investigate to get a clue because there's no clues here, but I'm trying to investigate to see if I'm successful to burglarize this hallway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this card. I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to spend this card to buff my chances. I don't think I'm going to succeed by 3 or more to get to keep this card, but that's okay because I really just need to successfully investigate to get 3 more resources so that I can trigger the dynamite. All right, so this has a shroud value of 1. I'm going to investigate, which I currently have a 3, and then I've +1. Do I have anything else I can commit to this? This really needs to succeed. It's okay. That's all I can do. Shuffle, shuffle. Please let me succeed. Oh my goodness, I succeed. This is all going to work out. It's all coming up aces, which means that I get 3 resources and I have 2 more actions, which is just enough because now what I'm going to do, I'm sure I'm breaking so many rules. I'm going to move to the parlor as my 3rd action. And oh, I can take control of Lita by doing a parlay. All right, so 3, And then now with my 5 resources, I'm going to play my Dynamite Blast, which is going to not kill the guy, but severely damage him. All right, so 4th action, I'm going to play the Dynamite Blast, which says choose either your location or a connecting location, deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator in that location. I am not there, which means that only the Ghoul Priest gets 3 damage. So I'm only 2 damage away, which means that I could potentially kill him next round, which would be so fantastic. That would be great. But the enemy phase happens. There's no enemies that are activated in my location, which means that I will move straight past that. I'll go to the upkeep phase, draw 1 card. Ooh, it was the 45 automatic. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. But that's okay. All of this will reset. This guy will reset, unfortunately, which means that on his next turn, he is going to hunt me, basically. The next enemy phase, he's going to come over and try and beat me up. All right. And I have to advance the Doom, unfortunately. We might do this. We might actually do this. This is fantastic. I can't believe it. All right. So I've increased the Doom. Now I have to deal with an encounter. What is this? Ancient Omens. Oh my gosh. I knew this was going to come up. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This can cause the agenda to advance, which it does. So let's see what happens. We're now at 7, which is the limit. And I think something bad happens whenever we get to the final stage of this agenda. A feral beast, roughly humanoid, roughly, with a canine cast and hooves for feet, tears through the ground in front of you below the floor. You can see vast tunnels beneath your house. Fiendish howling echoes from deep within the underground cavern. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a ghoul enemy is discarded. The lead investigator draws that enemy. Holy cow. All of these get shuffled back in. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Draw until I get a ghoul. Hey! Oh my goodness. Of all the ghouls, this one, and sorry, this guy actually is still at he's out in the hallway. We left him, we engaged him and left him behind, which is fantastic. Now, we do have this ghoul engaged with us, which is bad, but that's okay, because we can maybe do some stuff to get rid of him. And now it is our turn. So there's a couple things that we could do to like beat this scenario to the best possible outcome. We could parlay with Lita, and if we succeed, we could take control of Leader Chandler, which means that would have to get rid of Leo, which is bad, actually. I don't know that I would want to do that. Ooh. Okay, well. Okay, well, anyway. We need to deal with this ghoul, and we need to deal with the ghoul priest. So I think it might be good to try and deal with this ghoul before the priest gets here. And then potentially we could just like get more resources, draw more cards. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to save all of my skill stuff to try and beat the ghoul priest. So like all of these cards are getting discarded for that next check against him. Actually, what I could do is I could just try and evade this guy and then go out and just beat the ghoul. Why don't I do that, right? Because if the ghoul priest is defeated, advance. I say we win this round. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, okay. First action, I'm going to attempt to evade this ghoul minion. I've got a stat of 4. He's got an evade value of 2. Should I have a resource? I feel like I should have a resource because last round I should have gotten a resource in the upkeep phase. Okay, first things first. I'm going to try and evade this guy. I've got a +2. Can I do it? 45 automatic. I'm going to discard this card, commit it to the test. Sorry, this thing goes away. I committed that like last round. This guy gives me a 5, and I'm trying to beat a 2. Let's see if this happens. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. All right, I get a -1 because there's 1 ghoul at that location, but that succeeds, which means this ghoul is exhausted and now is in the parlor instead of attached to me. Since this ghoul was exhausted, I can go ahead and evade I evaded that enemy. I can draw a card. This may be a bad card. I know it's still in the deck. It's not bad. Nice. This attack uses... Oh man, that would have been a really good card early in the game. Holy cow. Man, that's a really good card. Anyway. Okay, so action 2, I'm going to move back into the hallway, which means this guy immediately gets engaged with me because he is ready. He is like ready and raring to go. And then I'm going to do everything I possibly can to beat this guy. I need to beat him. He's got a strength of 4, and I need to do 2 damage to him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the ammo on my Derringer, which gets +2. If I can succeed this by 2 or more, I can deal enough damage to kill this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out all the stops. If there are any stops, they are going to be gone after this because I'm pulling them out, all right? Let's see here. I need to do 2 damage. I have got 3 going up against a 4, so I need to get rid of these 2. I now have 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm now a +4. If I can succeed by 2, I do enough damage to kill him. It all rides on this. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. Shuffle. I don't want to do it. Yes! I did it. Okay, we did it. Everybody, we did it. I used all the cards. They were all gone. But man, it happened. And I beat this guy. That means that this does +2 damage. So, he is super dead. Now, when you defeat an enemy that has a victory value, you put them in a victory pile because that gives you experience points for the end of the game. And since that happens, Ghoul Priest is defeated, we can advance. We have done it. When the robed creature falls, the fiendish swarm burrows back into the ground and the chaos of the house quiets, but the stranger in your parlor doesn't seem relieved. You broke my seal. She's really mad about that seal. That was set to trap the ghouls within. She raises her torch. Now we must take more direct measures and burn this hell pit to the ground. The lead investigator must decide. It was never much of a home. Burn it down. Or this hell pit is my home. No way are we burning it down. You know what? Skids, he honestly seems like the type of guy. I mean, it even says in his tagline, he's a criminal. This guy wants to burn his house down for the insurance money. For sure, he's hoping to get an insurance payout because technically, he's not burning it down, right? It's Lita. So we're going to go for resolution number 1. Let's burn it down. Let's get that insurance money. Skids has hospital debts to pay off. All right, so we now get a resolution because of that. We have to go and read resolution 1 in the book. So let's see here. Not read until the end of the campaign. If no resolution was resolution 1. Okay, let's see if I can like make this bigger. Scale up. Yeah, make this bigger. Can't read it. There we go. Now I can read it. Okay, Ruby, don't say it. I know I need glasses. You nod and you allow the red-haired woman to set the walls and the floor of your house ablaze. The fire spreads quickly and you run out the front door to avoid being caught in the inferno. From the sidewalk, you watch as everything you own is consumed by the flames. Come with me, the woman says. I know you broke my seal. You must be told, but you're forgiven for that. You must be told of the threat that lurks below. Alone, we're surely doomed, but together we can stop it. So, that's the resolution of this first campaign, or this first chapter. In your campaign log, we have to record that the house was burned down. And then I earn Lita Chandler in my deck, which is great because she's awesome. She's a free asset to play. Holy cow, she's a free ally. She's really good. Jeez. Which honestly, whenever there's a really, really good card that's super cheap, it just makes me think that the future is going to be really hard. Like if you need cards that are that easy with good stats, it means it's going to get harder. Okay. And then I guess that's it. That is it. Oh, no. I suffer 1 mental trauma from watching my home become a smoldering ruin. Dang it. And then each investigator earns experience equal to the victory value of each card in the victory display. And I earn 2 bonus experience as I gain insight into the hidden world of the mythos. So that means that at the end of the campaign, at the end of the scenario, I have 1-2 victory points, 1-2 experience. I've fully cleared off the attic location of all clues, which means I get 1 more experience point. And this location down here had a victory on it, but I left a clue. If you leave any clues, you don't get that experience. So that would be 3 total experience plus a bonus of 2, which means that I get 5 experience for this campaign. What you can do going forward is there are upgraded cards that you can buy by spending experience. So if you look up here, these are some of the upgraded cards that I can purchase. I think I can purchase blue or green cards because that can be in my deck. So like to get this cat burglar, I would have to spend 1 experience because it has 1 pip in the top left. If you see that little tiny white symbol. But this would get me like a different ally that would be stronger, or I could buy a better version of Leo DeLuca. And let's see, why is he? Oh, he costs 1 less, right? So I could spend 1 experience because that's 1 pip to get a better version of Leo DeLuca, which honestly I'm gonna do. And then this one would cost 3 experience, but it's after you reveal a chaos token with a negative modifier, switch the negative to a positive. Holy cow! These are some really good cards. So as you can see, at the end of the adventure, whenever you gain 10 resources, at the end of the adventure, whenever you complete it, you can use the experience that you gain to kind of like build your deck and upgrade it as you go. And this is 1 scenario out of 3 available in this intro box. So for some reason, because I guess it was the spooky time of year coming up, I've been wanting to play a spooky game, and I got back into Arkham Horror LCG because I've never finished all the scenarios in the base box. I think I've done 2 out of the 3, but for some reason I never finished the base scenario. So I bought some more scenario packs, and I may buy the revised core set just because it's got upgraded components, it fits everything in the box, it's got a bigger box. I don't know, we'll see. I'm a big fan of the game. As you can see, it was tense and fun. I think this is the first time I've successfully like defeated the Ghoul Priest. I think every other time I've played this scenario I've lost against him because he's so brutal. I've only tried like 3 or 4 times, but anyway, hopefully this was fun for y'all to watch. If you would like me to continue this, let me know, and I can play scenario 2 and upgrade my deck and see what, you know, see what we do, see how we do with old Skids O'Toole. Let's go ahead and quickly read the flavor text for Skids. You can see some of the deck building rules on the back here. Skids hadn't planned on a life of crime, but sometimes doing the right thing means getting your hands dirty. Don't I know it? The cops didn't care. The Skids needed the money for his mother's operation. Ah, so that's the hospital debts. It's his mom. That's why. Okay. It was his mom's operation. His mother died of her illness during the 2nd year of his sentence. His cellmate, Brad Hollins, told him there were worse fates than death. He ranted and raved in a quiet voice every evening about the old ones and told Skids about bizarre adventures he'd had while dreaming. Skids didn't give it much thought until the night he woke to the sight of his cellmate bursting into flames. Yikes! When Skids was finally released, he returned to Arkham looking for answers. Holy cow. What a resolution. Anyway, that's that, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Like I said, if you want me to continue to play this, I'm going to try. I might switch the nights that I stream over to Tuesday nights or Thursday nights, depending on kind of how my schedule works out. Wednesdays are a little bit tough for me to be able to do, which might allow me to stream. Who knows? Maybe I can stream once a week on some weeks, or stream back-to-back some weeks. Well, we'll see. If you'd like to see me play more of this, let me know. If not, don't, and you won't have to see any more of it. But I could play through the Night of the Zealot campaign if this is something that people enjoy watching. But thanks for hanging out so much, Ruby. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. I hope that everything is going well for you out in West Texas. I know it's a bit cooler here in North Texas, a little bit east of you, so hopefully it's getting cooler out there and you are starting to get some fall weather, because man, do we need it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I will check you later and hope y'all have a great evening. Bye bye.